If you're a nurse practitioner and you've ever been surprised by a tax bill, quarterly estimated tax payments are almost always the reason, or at least a part of it. In this particular video, I'm going to explain what quarterly estimated tax payments really are, why they trip NPs up so often, and how we can handle them inside nurse prac tax so that they don't become a recurring problem for you. This video isn't about punishment. It's not about being bad at taxes. This is basically just about how the system works. And if you've got knowledge can be power, and you want to have power over how you file and prepare for your taxes. So in terms of what quarterly estimates for your quarterly estimated tax payments actually are, they're prepayments. It's really not extra taxes. So for example, if you were expected to owe $10,000 in taxes over the course of a year for either your 1099 income or your W-2 income, as a 1099 contractor, you're responsible for making prepayments if you own your own business. So you would have to maybe pay about $2,500 a month. Though there's some nuances with that due to variable income, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And they exist because really nobody's withholding enough. Income is variable, like I mentioned. So for example, if you own an NP-based business, you might have a really busy season in the first quarter, but at the end of the year, it might be slow, or vice versa. And for that reason, it's important that you work with a really good tax group like Nurse Prac Tax to make sure that we're withholding the appropriate amount. You don't want to withhold a lot, more than you need to, and you don't want to withhold a lot less than you need to. It needs to be as spot on as possible. We'll help you find that sweet spot. The taxes themselves, these estimated taxes, are based on your expected annual liability, not the last quarter alone. So you've got to look at it holistically. So think of quarterly estimates as trying to stay reasonably close to where your tax bill will land by the end of the year, not trying to be perfect every 3 months. Again, it has to be looked at holistically. And so in terms of why nurse practitioners typically struggle with estimated tax payments, this is really kind of where you want to watch out for and know what your particular vulnerabilities are, and we'll work with you on that. Could be around income changes. It could be that you've got both W-2 income and 1099 income and maybe even some other side income. As nurses and NPs, everybody seems to have a side hustle right nowadays, especially if we're entrepreneurs. So it's important that we are cognizant of that. If you've got a big bonus that comes at the end of the year or sometime throughout the year, if you've got a bunch of overtime that you're working, or if you're doing a locums assignment, those can also impact your quarterly tax estimates. If you have a CPA or an EA or a tax attorney who's using last year's numbers without adjusting, that is a huge red flag. You don't want to do that. We need to use current numbers. It's okay to look at the numbers from last year, but holistically, again, we want to look and see what that trend is and what you're projected to make in the current year. And also, you've got to be able to recalculate. Basically, most NPs don't have a tax problem. They have an updating problem. That's, I think, a better way to frame it. A couple common mistakes that NPs make around quarterly tax payments: they pay nothing until April. Now, you've got to make the quarterly tax payments 4 times per year. Sometimes they'll just go, the wind's blowing southwest. I think I'm going to pay X number of dollars for my quarterly tax payment. You can't just pay random amounts, because if you don't pay within a certain range, if you will, the IRS can actually assess a penalty for incorrect payments. So you have to make sure that you stay on top of that, and we'll help you through that. I'm assuming payroll withholding covers everything. No, it definitely doesn't. You have to be cognizant of that. You can't assume safe harbor, right? And not revisiting estimates after raises or schedule changes, as we mentioned earlier. It's really important that you don't do that, because you have to continually adjust. Again, no blame, no fear. It's just really important that we have clarity on all this about what's expected from our good friends at the IRS. How do we handle this inside Nurse Prac Tax? Well, We look at your current income, not stale data. And like I said before, even though it's important to look at data from prior years, looking at current data is also important to look at things holistically. We adjust your withholding estimates as income changes. We plan forward, not backward. And we don't want you as a member of Nurse Practax to have to guess amounts. And the big reason for that is when it comes to tax time in April, we don't want you scrambling. You should know as far in advance as possible what your estimated income tax payments are going to be every quarter. You know, the goal isn't to optimize every dollar, it's to really remove surprises and anxiety in this particular case. So we provide ongoing monitoring, quarterly recalculation, support when income changes, and really a one-stop shop for you to ask questions. And ask the questions. That's what we're here to help you with. And basically, if quarterly estimated payments feel confusing or stressful, it's completely normal. It happens to the best of us, even for me, when I started doing this. But it's not something that you should be guessing on at your own. And inside Nurse Practax, this is handled as part of your monthly membership, so you don't have to think about it every quarter. And again, take advantage of the fact that we can answer questions for you, and please reach out. We're here to help.